Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Sunday night here at Frank's retirement home. The Mystic Sea Serpents and Bodega Hive in our Walker division. Who better to join me than Freaky G? I'm Zach Vexel. An exciting matchup, Freaky. What are your thoughts?
It's going to be a great time, obviously. I mean, it always is whenever we get to join up here in Frank's retirement home and get to see these Walker Division players bring in uh, the best that they have. It's always a good time, man.
We've been seeing some good spice come out in the Walker division. Teams actually kind
hmm
of getting a little bit more comfortable than they did in previous seasons from what I've been watching, and actual team comps getting developed. So I'm excited to see how this season's going to go. I mean, it's only week 3. So there's still a whole, 6 other weeks to go, or a 9-week
Oh, yeah.
season. So a lot of potential here for teams to really find their footing, find their ground, and really find a oh God, there is a word I'm looking for, but find a place for them to be. But here we are in picks and bans. All right,
hmm
looking over on our side, a Bodega Hive banning out the whale. That's a necessity. Okay, we've
Absolutely.
talked about this time and time again. Athena, get her out of there. Global Ultimates, big thing. Thoth, I think, is a very, very prominent pick in the mid lane. You know, one of our superior mage 80s. I'm sorry, no, I can't say mage 80 mages in the mid lane. Next to the Kuko Khans and stuff like that. And then you look over at the side of the Mystic Sea Serpents, we see the Vamana. Nobody again wants to get ran at by a baby. Would you rather get ran at by the baby or ran at by the whale? Neither. You know, we'll just
Neither.
get them both out of there. Another global ultimate, semi-global with the Thanatos, early pressure with that one. And then the Ares, a very dominant pick, in my opinion, lately.
hmm And then, I mean, then you start right off the rip with something that's, in my opinion, not at the top of the board when it comes to carries. He's the second spot. Hachiman got left open, and they're grabbing the on her first pick here instead of opting for that Hachiman, which to me spells a strategy in mind. I mean, these guys didn't take top pick ADC. They said, "Hey, on her is better for me and probably better for our composition here. So let's just grab on her top spot instead of going for that top block ADC."
Yeah, to me, this says we want to fight in lane. You know, I see the on her any game, and I'm like, okay, dual lane wants to shove it down in some way. They want to just apply that kind of pressure over there. Yeah, the trans meta isn't so dominant right now, but there's also the thought that this could be an on her mid. You know, there's that potential where we were
Yeah,
seeing ADCs go over into the mid lane, playing that double ADC comp. So potential for that too. I'm not going to leave that one off the table because that is possible, but when I do see this, this tells me that we want to fight in lane. So the thought of being able to shut down this on her, if he is in dual lane, doesn't have that trans build, so he's not going to be too well off on mana. So being able to shove it down on him early, to me, that was kind of the important thing for this kind of god. And over on the side of the Mystic Sea Serpents, so we are seeing the X-Ball get locked in, and the Ao Kuang as well. Two really, really scaling gods over here for the Mystic Sea
hmm
Serpents right out of the gate.
yeah. These two gods right here are again telling us a bit of a story about what Mystic Sea Serpents are looking to bring to the table. X Ball and Al Kwong definitely playing for the late game. Uh, has a lot more potential out of that X Ball in the late game than the on her will for sure. There's the passive alone just bringing more power to the table. The Darkest of Nights is such a great ultimate whenever you get that lower cooldown on it, especially at the late game. And nobody, nothing says late game more than an execute god like Al Kwong. You're as you level up, it just increases that threshold more and more. I really love uh, watching these kind of scaling comps too on the in the Walker division because the games tend to go later, and so they really get the value out of them. In opposite fashion, though, it's the Awilix pickup for me that's kind of spelling this early game pressure. We're trying to win here and now with this pick right here.
The Wheelix is the one that does for you? I find that kind of interesting. I
Mm,
think a Wheelix is actually one of the biggest scaling assassins in the game. You know, you
okay.
have her, Serket, Cleo are probably 3 of the ones that I would put up there as your biggest scaling ability based assassins.
Hmm.
And that ultimate is insane. You know, and to me that does help if you are a good I'm sorry, not if you're a good Awilix player, if you're a great Awilix player, you know how to utilize that ultimate to multiple different degrees. What surprises me the most is seeing a Yamoja pick into the Awilix. Because
Yeah.
now it tells me you're never going to be able to use that 3.
Yeah, it's going to leave him leave that player very vulnerable in situations. The three is no longer an option, especially if a Wheelix is around and you know it. Only going to be able to use that in an aggressive aspect to bounce players back towards you rather than using it as an escape tool for sure. And as we're going into the second ban phase, it's already two mages off the rip. So neither team has decided to pick up their mids early on. Maybe really trying to lock in their plans with the strategy, and with the Onhers jump and the Kukulin ultimate, that's the knockups for your Awilix. They're kind of setting that up. And Yamoja just going to keep everything in place, keep that, and help that scaling comp stay sustained throughout the early and mid game as well. Uh, so I'm kind of curious as to what the mid lane's going to kind of look like now with these compositions, because right now their early game mids aren't really being played as much.
Yeah, when I'm looking at the Mystic Sea Serpents team comp, I need something early that can apply that kind of pressure over in the mid, over in the
Ooh,
solo lane, and we're seeing a Chiron get hovered right here and locked in. We were talking earlier about those double ADC comps, and Chiron, not the most notable of picks, but does have that early pressure that you're looking for, has a cleanse for this Awilix, so interested to see that there, and just is able to apply that kind of pressure over in the mid lane. And I think that's exactly kind of what they needed, this double ADC comp. Split a fight with Yamoja, shred somebody down with this Chiron Expo. Kwang comes in late and just cleans up. Meanwhile, over on the Bodega Hive side, Sobek and Anhur dual lane. Okay, this god made it all the way through to the second phase. That is horrendous. And then a finish off with the Hebo as their final pick.
yeah, this is a very scary early composition, and they've got the scaling late mage as well. But what I'm really seeing a problem with right here on Bodega Hive's composition is that, one, they're leaning very heavily into the Awilix to do a lot of the work in these team fights, which means we're probably seeing a very pick heavy strategy coming out from Bodega Hive. And if Hebo is most likely going to be the mid. There's already an Awilix lock in. I don't think we're going to see an Awilix mid in this game. So
I'm
Hebo
here
is,
for
I mean, I
it.
wouldn't be against it. Let's go ahead and throw out the spice. But either way, based on what we're seeing, though, I'm leaning on a Hebo mid. Hebo is notorious for struggling in his mid game, or in his early and mid game, in the mid lane specifically. That's why we see him in the jungle, where he can rotate, be safer, and he can make his presence known when he's ready to, rather than having to play defensive whenever he's not ready to. So they're leaning really heavily on one plan, and they're a part of their plan makes me feel like it's not a strong composition.
Well, I can definitely see that. You know, you're looking for this pick-based team comp. I do see multiple avenues though to engage it. You know, we have the Sobek pluck, we have the Awilix pluck
Mhm.
herself, we have on her leaping onto somebody, knocking them up. They have a lot of knockups on that team comp. Could call in for the engage. You know, so if you're playing the Awilix for the knockups, absolutely. You know, this is the team comp to do it. Plus, there's the emoji on the other team.
Mhm.
If you're playing the Awilix for, I guess, the more utility base that this god can do. You know, we can walk up to an objective, we can shred it down. I do still see potential with that. You know, you have the shred of you're on her early plus the Awilix. Okay, she drops that ultimate onto a Gold Fury on her, pelting it with autos, and then you have the secure with the Hebo. Good potential there to take any objective that they really desire. So I wouldn't look past that. But then you look over at the other side at the Mystic Sea Serpents. We're running a double hunter comp. We didn't see the Fafnir. They hovered that one, but they ended up swapping to this Kepri for a little bit more safety there. You know, I guess a little worried about somebody getting plucked, being unable to get on out of there. We're gonna have to drop a Kepri ult on him and walk away and hope for the best. So interested to see what it is the Mystic Sea Serpents do here in game number one.
In the same vein, though, I agree, but I see the plan here from Mystic Serpents with the Kepri pick, and I like the switch from them because he can still be a conduit for that those attack speed buffing items that he could build if he wants to get the Shoguns. He's not going to be like Fafnir, where he's going to have his the Coerce, available for that objective shred, because that's what this composition is going to be doing at the end of the day, is shredding down these objectives and just wearing out anything before there's anyone there. And the best part about it is, when it comes down to the secure battle, the 50-50, if there will be a 50-50, this is a much harder 50-50 for Bodega Hive in that situation, simply because your only secure is coming from the Hebo, and there's nothing worse than having to use your Hebo ultimate as a secure tool, because it could put you in a bad situation off of that 50-50 securing the fire giant or not, or it puts you away from the fight on the 50-50, meaning that somebody else could take the fall for you in the process of trying to win that 50-50 on the objective.
Yeah, and you know, something we're sitting here talking about these picks over and over again, but something I'm noticing is we have Yamoja and Kepri on the same side. Okay. So
Actually,
one
yeah.
solo, one support by the
Yeah,
looks of it.
actually.
And right now, as we move on into game number 1 here of Bodega Hive versus the Mystic Sea Serpents, we will see that it is Khepri solo and Yamoja support. Now, this one, I wasn't seeing coming.
Last week, I remember actually casted a game of the Mystic Sea Serpents, and this is a Tiny Giant thing. Tiny Giant is a support player first. He's always been that way, and this is Mystic Sea Serpent's way of keeping him comfortable in a role that he's not exactly comfortable in. He's played last week he played the Emoja and the Khepri in the solo lane. I do believe that game went to 3, and I think the last game he picked Jing Qian. So they kept him in a comfortable position, and he actually did the Khepri solo really well. I mean, it's not the first, it's definitely not, it's not even the 5th god I would look towards in the solo lane, but he played it very well, and I think this is actually a good thing from them.
Yeah, not the 1st, not the 5th, not the 125th, you know, any of the above kind of for that pick. So I'm interested to see what he does. It's my first time seeing it, so a lot of potential there. Now over here in the dual lane, a little bit of an out clear coming from the Expo Yamoja team comp. So I can definitely see that over in the jungle. But here's what's interesting. There's the pluck right away and an impale away. I don't know if it's really what you're looking for, but it did force the horrific emblem from the Mystic Sea Serpent. So that's a nice little bonus getting that one out of the way.
Yeah, and this is the way that this particular side of the duo lane for Bodega Hive is going to work. That's how they're going to try to draw their pressure. They're going to use these plucks to their advantage, try and just put out poke damage over and over. And eventually they're going to get that impale. When he hits 3, we're going to see that impale pillar combo come out. And I would imagine someone's probably going to die by that point. With Horrific Emblem being down, especially now, if Derry doesn't get aggressive off of that even more so than he already has been, it'll be a tragedy.
Yeah, Savashine being really low on mana, Omi, and nobody really, I can't say nobody's noticing the Awilix rotation. They obviously noticed the Awilix rotation crossing 2 wards, now sitting behind the dual lane, but they're not paying any attention to it. Going over for the shield buff, jumping on in though is Lady Hokage, looking for the pickup over onto Dipspit for Loop. Dipspit for Loop dashes on out of there and makes it to the safety of their tower line. All the meanwhile, Savashine now in a very difficult position out of Omi, 3 members on top of her. Good 2-man stun though, coming out from that Moonlight Strike, and now makes it out to the safety of the tower as well. Really good pressure here from Bodega Hive early over in the duo lane, but unable to amount to anything off that early gank.
Yeah, they were only able to get the silver buff. Lady Hokage put the focus on the objective, which early on, not the worst thing you could ask for. I mean, you're getting a little bit of that farm going in the way of your hunter, and On Her is a god that definitely needs to be ahead of his lane opponent, especially one that scales so hard as an X-Ball. I'm not hating the play, but I do think they probably could have found the kill first and still picked up the silver buff.
Yeah, now kind of a little bit of a return to neutral over here. Jungle swapping sides, looking to clear their farm, and a little bit low in the HP bars, though, is the Bodega Hive team. But all while this is what I would be worried about, is a little bit of a cheeky invade coming out here at our second buff rotation. Going in is, I don't know, MIA picking up that purple buff, ends up securing that one. A good invade here at the 3-minute mark from the Mystic Sea Serpents.
And just a solid invade as well. I mean, no contest either. Unaware from Bodega Hive. Definitely focused on that farm in the lane, and that's the kind of thing you got to watch for. You got to keep an eye on those timers, and this is an unfortunate situation for them, but I'm sure they can bounce back from it.
It's kind of what I was talking about though over in Picks and Bends when we saw this On Her pickup, is applying that kind of pressure over to this dual lane kind of shuts down their ability to apply pressure. So making them feel pressured, making them feel uncomfortable. You got this On Her who's not going. He's going to be a little bit mana hungry soon, has the Aegis too instead of the beads. I want that to be noticed. I would be a little bit worried off of a Ao Kuang rotation in there, because you're getting executed if you're not too careful. Not able to cleanse that one.
Yeah, it's kind of a sticky situation that you put yourself in, not going beads here, because if that Yamoja is able to get that stun off, she can just start chaining those stuns, and then damage will just come after that, and it's going to be kind of tough in this 1 to 12 selection. And as you were pointing out with the Ao Kuang, Aegis will stop you from being executed, but you're still going to get CC'd, so while you're in the air, Aegis will wear off, and then there's damage that's going to follow after the attempted execution. So it's not the best selection, but I think I see why he went for it.
Here's the thing though, is you need to bait it out. You know, you need to bait out the execute with your, you need to eat the execute, or here's, how should I say, you need to pop the Aegis before the execute comes through, whereas beads you can pop it after the execute gets grabbed. You know, so that's kind of the downside that I do see, and a little bit of a unfortunate that might end up coming over here in the dual lane, but we will see how it plays out. Going into the mid game, we got 7 levels before this on her can get Aegis, so hopefully he's going to see a little bit of a aggressive play over here in the dual lane coming out from the jungle. The Mystic Sea Serpents already saw that first invade. Keep up the pressure, and I'm sure they can have some good potential here in the dual lane for early objectives.
What's really funny to me is that both of these teams have an attempt to really slow down the other's progress, but it's going to be on different sides of the map. We're over here right now looking at it. This Khepri is not going to be able to farm nearly as well as a Kukulkan will. Not going to be able to fight against a Kukulkan either. I mean, here we see it right now. Totem going uncontested to the Kukulkan, and that's how it's going to be. That's how it should be for these blue buffs as well. Formless should be able to free farm this side of the map, to be honest, and just that can hurt Mia as well in the jungle if she's not paying attention to those camp timers. And well, here we see her pulling off an invade.
Getting invaded. That's a red buff for the Bodega Hive. End up getting stripped away by, I don't know, MIA. Right now in the jungle, no gravity surge available to Formless. We saw that one get used over in the solo lane by the blue buff. Now a rotation coming in from Kaiba Boy, trying to lock down this one and gets punished. I don't know, MIA ends up falling. Formless gets that one up, and the first blood goes the way of Bodega Hive here in game number 1.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough way to start as an Ao Kuang, especially after you're getting all those invades going, and you're not going to get online nearly as fast as an Awilix will. It doesn't take as much time. You farm a lot slower than an Awilix does. Don't have that camp clear. Your rotation power is also a lot slower because you don't have as good of a movement ability. And the cooldown's also much shorter on that movement ability. You can just cancel it, and it's like a 3-second cooldown, I believe, or maybe it's instant. I'm not entirely sure on that one. But now you're slowed down even more because you gave the first blood over to your jungle opponent, who is should be attempting these invades on these blue buffs. Not gonna be able to get it this time, but I hope to see her come over here, or see Formless come over here as time goes on more.
Here's my issue that I see. Well, I have 2 issues that I do see. Number 1, you know, we're seeing this Ao Kuang pressure multiple sides of the map. I don't really like that here in game number 1 because we had good pressure over in the dual lane, and now immediately, look at this, back over to the dual lane side, looking for something over here, has farm available to him, and isn't really going for that, and that's going to end up putting him behind, in my opinion. You know, they had that first buff invade over the dual lane, and I said it earlier, come back, go for that next buff invade, keep that pressure up on her, and you guys have a winning lane, which is huge, because you have that winning lane there, mid lane stays neutral, solo lane was staying neutral, it didn't look as good, but it's, like you said, Khepri into Kukulkan. Kukulkan has all the early game advantage in the world against even warriors, so no surprise that he's winning that lane over there, but it didn't feel like he was winning that lane. You know, it felt like he has the advantage in that lane, and Khepri still exists, and Khepri's still happy. He's getting his blue buffs. You know, Tiny Giant was not in a difficult position, so why even bother going over there? You're not going to get a lead over in that lane. Keep that pressure up over on duo, because now look, now you're level and a half behind. My second issue that I'm seeing is we're not going into this lifesteal build that we know is absolutely dominating for Ao Kuang players right now. You know, that's the reason Ao Kuang I'm seeing get picked up over and over and over again, is because the lifesteal build already just starting off with this tier 2 pendant going into the Ratatouille. I don't like that. That's super expensive. You're down a level and a half now here in game number 1. 2 deaths. It doesn't feel like a good pickup.
Well, Mystic Sea Serpents are able to at least swing one back their way, getting the kill on the Kaiba Boy there. So that's something to look forward to, and maybe something that Mia needs to take advantage of now, is to knowing that, hey, we have a way better presence right here in the mid lane with this Chiron over the Hebo. Maybe that's where we should be putting our focus. That way you can also maintain a presence on whatever side of the map you want to. If you play out of the mid lane, you can more easily transition that pressure to one of your side lanes, whereas if you're playing out of the side lane, you're only able to transition that pressure to the mid lane. So maybe that's a way to adjust this and help Mia get back into the game a little bit, so she can actually stay with her team and farm better. Might be able to find something on the Sobek here.
Yeah, very much in a difficult position. Goes into that lurking in the waters, but ends up falling nonetheless. Lord Poseidon picking that one up for the Mystic Sea Serpents, evening out this game kill-wise. The good little pluck right there. 2 ultimates used, and so is that Khepri's, but he still ends up falling. Hopefully delayed enough time, but could not. Blue buff still gets secured by his team, but ends up falling.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to start this dual lane or solo lane transition off, getting the kill on the Khepri, because Khepri, in no matter what lane you put him in, is going to be doing the same thing. He's going to be kind of hanging back, sitting where his carries are, protecting them, and using that ultimate to keep them alive for the most part. And the further behind he is, the longer that cooldown is on that ultimate, and the longer it takes him to get to 20, the longer it's going to take him to reduce that cooldown, aside from building cooldown on his own. I really just want to see them keep doing that over and over, because if this Khepri ends up being 5 levels behind, it's going to be so hard for him in the position that he's playing to actually catch back up.
3-2 here, and a 1.5K lead for Bodega Hive at the 10-minute mark in game number 1. Pretty solid ward vision from Bodega over in the dual lane side. Oh, ward's falling off. Gonna have to get a little bit more up, but decent ward vision nonetheless. Objectives are gonna be spawning soon. I just see a lot of potential over in this duo side jungle that might be getting kind of left unrecognized by these two teams.
I definitely can agree there, and I mean, we're 10 minutes in. It needs to probably start looking at. We need to start probably looking at this Gold Fury more aggressively. And if I'm picking a team that should be doing it right off the rip, I really would think it needs to be the Mystic Sea Serpents, just because you've got that double ADC, double Guardian composition, which means you can pick either or to tank. You've got really good ultimates to keep people out and create space. Just well, better way to put it, just have good space control. And Darkest of Night also just makes it very difficult to take away to ensure the steal potential on the side of Bodega Hive. So the sooner they can get over here to this objective, the sooner they can create or remove that lead, and then maybe even create their own lead.
Yeah, there's good potential to create their own lead, but what I'm seeing on a Wheelix, who's 2.5 levels up right now, was just 3 levels up, so, and is building into crit nonetheless. Wouldn't be my first choice, but it's really interesting to see. You know, you have this lead, you're able to play around with your build a little bit more. So I want to see what this one does. And to me, again, I think that just goes back to, I want to see these objectives start getting pulled. Like you said, that Gold Fury is available for these teams. Now you have an Wheelix with crit, pops the ultimate, massive stim, shredded down. And we talked about this in picks and bans. Good secure potential too with Kaiba Boy's ultimate. So where is it?
Well, we're going to see our first true objective scuffle. I'm going to call it a scuffle because you never know how these beacons go. And it looks like Bodega Hive is going to be the one putting most of their pressure on it. Yamoja ult's going to come out, though, here.
But the River's Rebuke gets plucked right back in by the Gravity Surge. Really good combination here from Derry and Formless. And all over in the duo lane. Lady Hokage on the rotation ended up falling.
Oh.
Really nice execute coming in from this Ao Kuang. Lord Poseidon ends up finding one onto Formless. Beacon's still up.
Yeah.
Yeah, after all that, Beacon is still up, still available. Either team can go and get it.
It's looking like Bodega Hive.
It is looking like Bodega Hive's going to take that one away all the while. Over in the dual lane, Dip Spit for Lube ends up pushing that one down, taking the first tower off the map.
And this is kind of an unfortunate situation for Bodega Hive. They get the objective here, but meanwhile, Formless falls down to Mia, who was behind quite a bit. Still is behind, but she's going to be able to transition that into an item, a bit more of less of an item deficit, as well as getting the kill onto Lady Hokage in the duo lane, who was only 0-1 and was just farming up kind of free. The only person putting pressure on her for the longest time was Dip Spit for Lube. That tower also going down. I think that kind of evens out the loss of the beacon there, aside from the tower damage that it's going to do.
Oh. Another tower going down, and it's only a 1K game, barely a 1K game in favor for Bodega Hive. 3-4 here at the almost 14-minute mark. Look at that. Only about 900 gold. Not bad for these two teams, but really even so far. And that kind of spells danger if I'm a Bodega Hive, because you were kind of talking about it over in Picks and Bans, where we have a very early game-based team comp over here for Bodega Hive. And I wouldn't say they're mid to late game style fights are very, I guess, two-dimensional, but not a whole lot of options. You know, there's some options, but not a whole lot of options. And when you look over at the other side of Mystic Sea Serpents, I'm seeing scaling. The later this game goes, the better it is for the Mystic Sea Serpents.
Yeah, and that's what Bodega Hive really needs to try to avoid. The Mystic Sea Serpents coming into this late game have way more options in their team fights. And I mean, X-Ball is a good target to kind of slow down that scaling.
Yeah, kind of in too deep right now. No tier 1 tower available. Gravity Surge ends up pulling Dipspit right back in. A massive, well, I wouldn't say massive shutdown, but a level shutdown over here for Bodega Hive. Had only an assist. Now has a dead. But a 2-level lead soon to fall.
And it looks like Gold Fury was called on the side of Bodega Hive after they got Dipspit for Lube on the gray screen there. So this is going to just be something else to reinstate that lead that they had off of 1 kill. And this is really good objective presence from Bodega Hive. Hey, we got the carry. It's a 4v5. Pull it. Let's do this right now before, you know, they start trying to bring everyone over. Mystic Sea Serpents on the other end, though, just said, you can have it. We made a mistake. We're not going to make another one right behind it. So both teams, I think, played that situation very well.
Yeah, you know what's really unfortunate, though, is that it's 15 minutes into the game, and the mid-right Harpies were still up. Hadn't been taken for 6 minutes. That means that no Pyromancer is available for Mystic Sea Serpents to make a kind of trade over here. So have to give up that objective for absolutely nothing. Blink coming out from Perp Kool-Aid over here in the solo lane, thinking he was going to get engaged on by the Ao Kwang Kepri combination, but not too worried about it.
As we continue down this 16 minutes in, as you pointed out earlier, it's still a crit build for the Awilix, by the way. We are going into another crit item. I'm guessing it's going to be a Rage. What do you think about this crit build, man? I'm a little confused about it, and I don't even know what to say. I'm the chair 2.
You're the chair 2. You got the stats. What do you mean you're the chair 2? So the way I look at it, as someone who, I'm going to hold that thought real quick, as Dipspit is defending a 1v3 right now. Good grab onto Lady Hokage. 2 picks for Dipspit for Lube over here, and now running away is Perp Kool-Aid, getting chased down by 4 members. 2 on the rotation from Bodega Hive, gets grabbed into the execute. There it is. That is 3 kills over here off of a tower dive from Bodega Hive, and the other 2 remaining members from Bodega now just trying to secure their farm a little bit. Ends up losing the purple buff as well, and now on the chase down, runaway, seeing if they could get something else. 5 members strong over here in the dual lane. I think you got kind of everything you were going for over here. So back up, but back to that Awilix talk that we were talking about. As a jungle person, I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan. Okay, you know, I talked in Picks and Bans about how Awilix is probably one of the best scaling assassins for ability base in the game. Okay. Let me go ahead and double check my numbers real quick. So yeah, everything on her scales like 80% of her physical power. So kind of big. You know, you get to that late game, you're dealing at just an absolute ton of ability-based damage with your auto attack cancel. So I'm not against it. I think there's better options. Don't get me wrong. I think there's better options, but you know, I think they're looking more towards when they are on a target and they're just kind of autoing them down. They have crit autos now instead of just regular autos.
Well, I guess with that new crit item, it's, you know, you can actually get up to a 100% crit chance. Oh, no. Okay. Well, Bodega Hive actually able to take that beacon away there. That's another beacon for them, and that's just a little bit more in the pocket. Oh, wow. We're trading out pretty heavily over here, and it's Dipspit for Lube may be in a lot more trouble than he bargained for, but he's just going to be able to dash out there.
A good dash away from the X-Ball over on the Mystic Sea Serpents, getting himself back to the safety of his team. Gold Fury soon to spawn. Oracle's going to fall off, so Vision's going to fall off around this pit. Going to have to do a little bit of ward control over here, or just play for these next Oracles. And all the while, I don't really know if our Ao Kwang friend wants to be over on the solo side of the jungle at this time. Bodega Hive looking for a pick very eagerly, finding Dipspit for Lube over here, able to dash away to the mid lane safely.
Man, look at the level deficit in between carries right now. That is insane. A 4-level deficit for Lady Hokage. I didn't think it was that bad. On her's only fallen 2 times. I can only assume that that's come from there's 2 kills on the Mystic Sea Serpent's carry, but that ultimate's going to have to save his life here. That's a big ultimate to have on cooldown.
Is able to get out of there. Lord Poseidon finds Lady Hokage. That's that 3rd death for the On Her. over here on the Bodega Hive. And now a disengage coming from Bodega Hive. 5 members of Mystic Sea Serpents nearby. A couple ultimates still remain. And I'd be worried about that. That Centaurus available, able to rip through your back line. That Execute from the Ao Kuang available, able to just take somebody out of here. And with a double ADC comp, I'd be worried about anyone getting plucked. But speaking of getting plucked, it's Dip Spit for Loop getting caught by the Gravity Surge over here. And now Sobek in a difficult spot. Derry ends up falling to that Execute from, I don't know, MIA.
And now it's Hebo that's stuck in a little bit of a hard spot as well as he's finally going to fall. Mia's going to pick up that kill. Cullen trying to make his way out of this one, but I don't think he's going to get very far. Kepler's going to grab him, pull him back in. Dodge is the one. He actually may be able to make it out of this. Luckily that rage form adding a little bit of power and presence to his ability to escape. But it's going to be an Oni Fury going the way of the Mystic Sea Serpents, and that's their first objective of the game as well.
Yeah, nobody from Bodega Hive wanting to step up to this, and quite frankly, I don't blame them. The only one who can really respond right now is Lady Hokage, and like you said, they're at level 14 here at 21 minutes. It's, I need my on her to farm a little, you know? We got to get around, get some farm up, because, yeah, something happened.
This is a moment. This is a moment as a team that you have to say, hey, our carry is very underleveled. We need her to have a presence in this late game because she's not going to outscale Dip Spit for Lube on this X ball. So go to duo lane, farm. If they try to take objectives, we try to make a steal happen, but we're not going to sacrifice our lives for it. Obviously, that's not the easiest thing to do. You're probably going to have to rely mainly on the Sobek ult because he's the only person that can go into 4 people and potentially make it out alive. But it looks like the Mystic Sea Serpents have a little bit of an oversight here. That or it's just Purple Kool-Aid and Formless doing a really good job of zoning right now.
Gravity Surge plucking in Savashine, getting this Yemoja in a difficult position, and now forcing that Scarab's Blessing as well a little bit too early. Desert Fury gets dropped. A lot of ultimates on both sides expended. Pyromancer disengaged completely. Mystic Sea Serpents have the advantage and the pressure, pulling people back in. Sobek in danger. Derry close to falling. Makes it on out of there, but Dip Spit for Lube also extremely close. Kaiba Boy now in a dangerous spot, gets to his tier 1 tower, but that's not a safe tier 1 tower. Look at its HP, and Tiny Giant ends up finding Kaiba Boy.
That wasn't even a lot of damage, but it looked like a lot of damage. I guess Conduit Gym does more than I expected, and they're still chasing this down on her. Throwing out some autos on the Kepri that took his mid laner's life. Not going to be trying to take this T2. I think they're just trying to find a bit more if they can, but there's not going to be a lot more for them to take. Excuse me. Hopefully they're planning on falling back for this Pyromancer because there should be no reason that they don't get it.
All the pressure in the world right now, but wanting picks instead of objectives. Seeing if they could get something else off. Maybe it'll open up another opportunity, a bigger opportunity for them, but unable to find anyone. Just going to clear up some waves here in mid lane now. Finally pinging out and making their way on back to that Pyromancer.
Yeah, and this is what they really need to focus on. This is what that double, triple attack speed, I guess you could consider on her part of that triple attack speed. The Ao Kuang, I think I said on her, excuse me. This is what they need to focus on, though.
On her's playing for Mystic Sea Serpents, got it?
Yeah. They both start with A, you know, Ao Kuang on her. I can see, no, there's no, I made a terrible mistake. Fire me. Anyways, this is what they need to be looking for. Is these objectives. This is what you draft a double ADC, double Guardian comp for. This objective, on the other hand, not really going to matter if you have double ADC, but they still were able to find the presence. So third beacon goes over to Mystic Sea Serpents. Going to make that siege a lot easier for them as these towers, health bars just start to whittle down. Keep in mind, though, you don't get the golden XP off of the tower if it's destroyed by the beacon.
That gets fixed next patch.
Oh, is that a bug? I thought that was a feature.
That's a bug.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Well,
that gets fixed next patch.
I actually thought that was like the rule there. That's not supposed to happen. Okay, thank you for enlightening me. I never would have been able to know the difference. Either way, that's still part of the game at the moment, so they do need to realize that if they care about that golden XP. But like I said, this is what the Mystic Sea Serpents need to be doing. They need to be forcing the objectives. And when somebody steps up to that objective, turn on the gas and just vroom your way into a team fight, wear out a tank, and
like that.
you know, kill somebody. I like cars. The cars are cool.
Yeah. Apparently I do
Anyway,
too. That's why my nickname on the server is Vrr.
but in the same vein, double ADC comp go burr. You're likely to kill one of these tanks. You have two ADCs. One's going a full penetration build. That's the X ball here. Right target, right person to have that build on, in my opinion. If you're going to go attack speed, go the pin build, and then you're getting a 35% crit chance off your mid laner, and he's going to give everybody on the team a crit chance whenever he ults. So they're doing it right. They need to utilize it.
A difficult spot right now, looking for aggression, is the Mystic Sea Serpent, seeing if they could find somebody, but might be a little bit caught out themselves. A good pluck. Two ultimates expended from Bodega. Hive now in a very difficult position. His dip spit for Lube. That Scarab's Blessing is good and unneeded, but you get the movement speed off of it. So good to get him out of there, saving the life of the ex-Blanque from the Mystic Sea Serpents. English is a fun language. Bodega Hive looking to make something over here around this Gold Fury, hoping to not lose out on too many more objectives. But Mystic Sea Serpents wanting to get aggressive.
They're going to be able to poke out the Hebo, which means this is a really good opportunity to try and pull, unless they start taking damage from Bodega Hive, getting in there, putting some CC on the Khepri and poking him out a decent amount. He's not the tankiest thing in the world yet, but he's still fairly tanky, so you do have to put a little bit more effort into killing him. And now it's actually the Mystic Sea Serpent's going in on this T2, maybe able to take it as well.
Yeah, got to be a little careful still, in my opinion. We saw this before the Pyromancer, where Mystic Sea Serpent saw some low HP bars, wanted to get aggressive. Lord Poseidon ends up finding Lady Hokage with the Centaurus. Phoenix HP bar getting whittled down. They still have a bomb in pocket around the belt of Ao Kuang, who is in the air. Good execute on Purple Kool-Aid, and the middle Phoenix ends up falling as well. Good aggression from Mystic Sea Serpents. Bodega Hive needing to retreat here.
That was actually a really good plan from them to go in there and just take the T2, and they said, hey, they're really low. Let's see if we can get some more. And you've got the double ADC comp. This is exactly what I was saying earlier. This is what you need to do with it. Two ADCs hitting your tower at the same time together, it's impossible to stop if they're already in your tower. If they are past tower line, it's dead. You will not be able to keep that from going down. And so they took advantage of that very well and managed to take down the On-Her and the Kukulkan, meaning that this is a free Pyromancer, giving them another bomb in pocket for the next objective push. Ao Kuang's got 2 bombs in pocket right now. Their pushes are going to look great. They can use it to secure these Fire Giants, and they split it up. Now they're going to get a Primal Fury. It's going to take them a little longer. Ao Kuang rotating over to help with that, but it's not going to go down as fast as a Pyromancer. And Khepri is going to go ahead and stop tanking that too, so it may take even longer. But you're not worried about it. You had the presence to make these objective plays in the first place.
It's okay. Deacon, I saw the Abyssal Stone. I was looking at it. we all thought about the Abyssal Stone.
You know, Abyssal Stone, I think, is an item that kind of gets overlooked when you think about... I think it gets a little overlooked when you think about its potential as an item. It's not like the first thing you're going to go for, because you're kind of mainly looking for that direct effect item, like Stone of Binding. As soon as you hit a target with CC, any type of CC, that's 10 prots, or, well, what is it, level 20 times 8, it's 18, I think, or something like that. I'm not sure how to do the math on that. I'm not very good at math, folks, so I'm not going to try.
It's
but the
your
point
level,
is,
0.8 times your level.
Yeah, so I'm saying at level 20,
16.
it should be, is it 6? Okay, 16. Thank you, Desk, and thank you, Zach. So 16 prots reduction, that's not the biggest, but it's still an instant effect, and that's something that your damage dealers can easily take advantage of. And the same, Khepri just TP'd over to the left lane. So anyways, Abyssal Stone, it's an instant effect, but it's not something that you're actually like going to notice unless you're the person having to deal with it. I don't know about you, but reducing the cooldowns on Kaiba Boy by 20% seems like it would be an effective way to do it. A negative 20%, negative 10%, because he's got 10% CDR on his cooldowns, might make it a little bit more difficult to get that damage out, especially if you hit him with that when he hasn't used ult yet.
Well, the thing is, Tiny Giant is not here to do damage. You know, they're playing Khepri solo, so having that 20% negative CDR being used, I think, is a great thing. You know, it's definitely a unique one that I wasn't expecting here. I was and still am expecting a Void Damaru getting put into play, because I think that item is just great. and you
Maybe
have...
not. Well,
I mean,
maybe not
if you're
Void.
diving with your Ao Kuang,
Okay,
your
yeah,
Ao
yeah,
Kuang
yeah.
should be shredding. And right now, the Mystic Sea Serpents are moving kind of as a unit. So, in my opinion, getting that Void Tomorrow online could be extremely beneficial for the dive of the Mystic Sea Serpents trying to go on in there. Because you gotta imagine, Kepri's grabbing onto somebody. If Ao Kuang's shredding that same target, they're dead. Straight up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Well, there's that, and then there's also the idea that the Khepri is just another support, and then you just put the Void Shield on him, and now your ADCs are doing the same thing as the Ao Kuang would be doing. I think there's a lot of ways that he could play around it, and either item would be a great choice for him, by no doubt.
Both?
I'm not disagreeing.
Why not both?
Why
Get rid
not
of
both?
binding. Yeah, get rid of the binding. Get both.
Get rid of binding and just build both, actually. I think that's actually a great deal. You're not trying to build any more cooldown. You're at 40%. Just go ahead and build both. You're right. Make a solid point there. But he's not going to. Looks like he's going to build something else out of that Druid Stone tree. I'm wondering what that could be.
Oh, that's true. Erosion or Archdruids?
It'd have to be
No.
Archdruids. Or, no, he could build Erosion.
What for?
When Cucullin rages, he gets a health shield.
I wouldn't just build it for that, would I?
It's an option. I mean, if we're going to talk about it being a possibility, I'm at least going to give a good reason to build it. I'm not saying it's the best option, that's for sure. But I would imagine it's probably going to be an Archdruids. And I mean, that's just going to make him fairly tanky. He's going to get a ton of sides. He's going to get a ton of split prots. He's going to have a ton of health. I think each of those items gives somewhere around 300 to 350 health as well. 250, I think, on Sona Binding.
250 on Archdruids too, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, he's going to have somewhere around 750 health in his build with those three items alone. He's going to have 35 and 35 on Archdruids and Sona Binding, and then 35 and 40 off of Abyssal. So this is a very tanky Khepri. I like the build, even if it's not the greatest build ever made.
It's a very healthy Khepri, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
His doctor would be happy. Enhanced Fire Giant getting absolutely shredded here. Now the 50-50, but Mystic Sea Serpents end up securing that one. Savashine finding Perp Kool-Aid and in a very difficult position. Well, never mind, not in a difficult position at all, because Lord Poseidon ends up finding Formless. Dipspit finds Lady Hokage. Bodega Hive's team is running away a little bit in shambles. Just Sobek, just Hebo, the last two members available, waiting for the grab off the end of that Murking Waters, but gets rooted in place. Dipspit for Lube cleans that one up. Derry ends up falling. Middle Phoenix now the target. Never mind, it's Hebo. Gets grabbed, force the beads. Kaiba Boy trying his best to get out of there. Cannot. Absolutely cannot. Now the Titan under siege. Bodega Hive gonna lose this one here in game number one. Mystic Sea Serpents taking game number one at the 32.5-minute mark.
And that's the kind of thing that you need to be doing with this composition right there. As soon as they pulled that objective, it went down so fast. And the tanks just did a really good job of zoning. The divers did a really good job of zoning. Mia and Tiny Giant got out in front, kept everybody occupied for a little bit. By the time anyone could get in there, it was all basically already dead. Sobek or Cucullin probably not going to be stealing that one away. Even the ultimates from them are not going to be doing enough damage to out-secure the amount of burn that's coming from these ADCs, this double ADC composition. And by the time it was down, the team is the Mystic Sea Bodega Hive is so spread out that there's just no opportunity for them to really regroup and disengage properly, and they just get picked off one by one. There's nothing they can do about it. Each ADC is hitting its own target, and each ADC is hitting each target for somewhere around the ballpark of 250 in auto. And we're not even going to talk about the ability damage that comes after that. And by the time it's all said and done, they get to that weakened Middle Phoenix, wear it down, and then they have 2 bombs to take down the Titan as well. Used it. It's gone within a matter of seconds. So great job from them in that last team fight, and a great job from them in this game.
Yeah, that scaling team comp from the Mystic Sea Serpents really putting in work here. Bodega Hive really on a timer in game number one, and unfortunately we saw that timer expire. Game number one going the way of Mystic Sea Serpents. We will be back with picks and bans for game number two in a few minutes. We're going to take a quick little break. Until then, we will see you in a few moments. Welcome back here to Frank's retirement home. Bodega Hive versus the Mystic Sea Serpents. And unfortunately, we cannot get into game 2 and game number 3 of this set. So we will announce the results of Bodega Hive making a very nice reverse sweep comeback. Games 2 and 3 looking like absolutely different teams. So really good for them taking that set. We'll make sure we have a spectator next time we want to replay some of these matches. So we thank you all for your patience. Freaky, you got anything to add on?
No, it's like you said. Based on the screenshots that I'm seeing here, it's just a completely different team for these guys in game 2 and 3. It's really is just a darn shame that we were unable to watch these next 2 games because they look like they would have been pretty good games to watch.
Spicy games. So want to thank you all very much for coming out. Thank you, Freaky, joining me here on the desk. Thank you, Deacon, for being our spectator for tonight. We got another match coming up later today. Let me, 8 o'clock?
Yep.
Double check. Yeah, 8 p.m. Make sure you are there. We got a Walker set, Going Ghost versus the Calder's Good Boys. So make sure you are there. We will see you a little bit later. Until then, y'all have a good rest of your night.